Did Terry Fontenot and the Atlanta Falcons knock it out of the park with this year's draft?
You are Locked On Falcons, your daily Atlanta Falcons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, everyone, to another illustrious episode of the Locked On Falcons podcast, your daily Atlanta Falcons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox, no console needed. Head to amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. So if you do not know me, I'm your very humble host, Aaron Freeman, aka Mr. Drew, aka the iron that sharpens the iron, aka Mr. AKA, and I've been covering the Atlanta Falcons for almost 2 decades, formerly at falcfans.com, RIP, still going strong on this illustrious podcast, and I thank each and every one of you that goes strong with me as everydayers. That means you make this podcast your first listen each and every day, and all you got to do to become an everydayer, subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And today we are joined by none other than Damian Parson of the Locked On NFL Draft podcast, talking about all the Falcons draft picks, including the 2 safeties in Xavier and Billy Bowman that are going to complement Jesse Bates, as well as the 2 alpha pass rushers that the Falcons landed in round 1. So without further ado, let's jump into that conversation right now. Welcome back, everyone, to another illustrious episode of Locked On Falcons with an illustrious guest. He is none other than Damian Parson, the co-host of the Locked On NFL Draft podcast, the founder of the Scouting Room, where you can see his video breakdowns on YouTube, and you can see hundreds of write-ups on players from this past year's draft over at the Bleacher Report. Dame, welcome back to the show.
Always fun to be back, man. You know, love Falcon fans. They show me a lot of love, so I don't never mind coming on the show and chopping up with you, bro.
Yeah, man. And, you know, I think the Falcons came away in round 1 with 2 edge rushers, much needed, long in the making, with the Falcons finally addressing their pass rush. We'll talk a little bit later about James Pierce and the price that they paid to take that double dip. But let's start off with the sort of headliner of the Falcons draft class, Jalon Walker. What were your thoughts on the pick for him at 15, and sort of what do you envision the versatile hybrid, all the words with Jalon Walker, his role within the Falcons defense?
My initial reaction when Jalon Walker came off the board, I felt like the Carolina Panthers, you know, it's like that softball pitch to Barry Bonds. That's what it felt like to me. Like, I was just like, because at 8, that's kind of the position I expected him to go. They went Ted McMillan, who I love as well. But I was like, man, the Falcons, he just fell right into their hands. And being able to get a guy, like you said, that brings that versatility. He can play the off-ball backer, line up off the edge. And for me, I mean, I kind of want him playing a lot more edge than off-ball backer. And if I'm the Falcons, that's what I want too. Like, I want to get him. Don't get me wrong. You can get some mugged up looks with him and Caden Ellis and mug the A gaps, get some simulated pressures. We know Raheem knows how to devise a really good defensive scheme in that regard. But now and going back to his time with the Rams, and before he left and they got Jared Verse, he had Byron Young, and he got Byron Young in the 2nd round. And that was a first step quickness, speed to power rusher. Didn't have a whole ton of counters. And I say that to kind of ease some angst for some people when you listen to certain analysts that were a little bit lower on him. I think I saw a wild comp for Jalon Walker at one point, and I was just like, absolutely not. And I was like, no, that is not the player I've seen on tape. And again, like, Raheem knew how to use Byron Young, who didn't have the most robust pass rush package, but the speed, the power, know how to use all of those physical tools, he got to the quarterback. I called Jalon Walker, my comp for him is the Tasmanian Devil. Like, his energy, the unbridled energy that never stops. He attacks with just such a relentless mentality, right? Like, you watch the Texas game, and I think there's a rush where they put, and typically you see offensive coordinators put a tight end on the side of a rusher. They want to kind of throw off their timing of their rush because they got to work around the tight end, trying to release it to the routes and give the tackle time to get into their sets so that they can get to their spot and be prepared to fight back. And Texas did that on one of the reps, and the way he was able to just maneuver his body, just throw different things at you, different movements, I think the sky's the limit for this young man. Anytime you have a guy, and I think I heard, I can't remember the exact quote, but he definitely is wired the right way mentally. So I think for him, like being able to get him at 15, knowing that the Falcons pass rush has been really has struggled for like the last decade or two. And I said this on the podcast on our recap. Felt like Terry Fontenot would listen to the show because I've been drilling him for a long time now. I was like, hey, we got to get a pass rush. You've gone 3 to 4 straight years first round picks on the offensive side of the ball. I was so happy to see Jalon Walker get selected because again, you can use him off ball. You can walk him down, as an edge rusher on third downs. He's going to stop the run. And if you're dealing with, you think about especially like Bryce Young and everything like that, and his ability to, and now Tyler Shuck being in the division, Tyler Shuck is a mobile quarterback. You watch the tape against Texas when they took Quinn Ewers off the field in that first matchup and put in Arch, who's a much better athlete. He spied Arch. Arch thought he was going to be able to get out the pocket, use his legs, create plays. And Jalon was like, no, he's closing the door. He's tracking him. And that's what I love about it. He has a hunter's mentality. Like once he gets his eyes locked on to his target, he tracks it well. He stays square. He's aggressive, but he's not overly aggressive. So I think they hit a home run with this pick. And I said it on I think I said it on the broadcast when I was doing a Bleacher Report. Yeah, if I'm Raheem, like Priest, the first game against Carolina, like while the guys are in there, like lines stretching, I'm just tapping them on the shoulder, like, hey, big fella, they passed on you at 8, and I'm just gonna walk off. I'm not gonna say nothing else to him. I'm not letting him speak. I'm not letting him respond. I want that to simmer. I want him to think about that you were projected to go there the entire time. They say, you know what? Forget that. We can get some guys in round 2 that'll be just as good. Let's get our wide receiver before we finish stretching. I'm going to walk back by and say the same exact thing again. I want it to be on his mind so he's prepared to go after their quarterback. The Falcons got a home run pick for me.
Yeah. And Carolina's his hometown team, so it adds a little extra fuel to the fire. It sounds like from all the things the Falcons have said post-draft that they're going to try him as an edge, but they're, they reserve the right to throw some wrinkles in there and get him sort of mugged up in those A gaps with Caden Ellis and some of the other pass rushers that the Falcons have. And I think you nailed it with the QB spy and some of the quarterbacks the Falcons will be facing this year. Josh Allen, Anthony Richardson, Jaden Daniels, like he's perfect for that role. That was a role that the Falcons just didn't have a player that could do that. Like they were hoping Troy Anderson would be that sort of athlete that they could use in that role, but injuries have just prevented him from really getting on the field. And so not only does I think Jalon Walker add that value as a pass rusher, but also add that versatility that you're speaking of. But, focusing strictly on the pass rush, where do you sort of see Jalon Walker's upside? I know, you've talked about this on Locked On NFL Draft and other places, that number 11 that he rocks at Georgia in that sort of hybrid role that he plays as an off-ball linebacker and edge rusher leads to a lot of comparisons to a player like Micah Parsons. Do you see that sort of upside in Jalon Walker, or do you see, someone else in terms of where you could see projecting him long-term in the NFL as pass rusher?
The comps to Micah, and I think Micah's a new hybrid because we're seeing a lot more linebacker edge hybrids coming out of college now. Him from Jalon Walker, Abdul Carter. I see Hassan Reddick. Through and through. Remember Hassan's a couple early years. The Cardinals struggled so much in terms of trying to figure out a plan for him, and then they finally got an edge, and they let him walk in free agency at the end of his big year. Goes to Carolina, has another strong year. Carolina's cheap; it doesn't want to pay him, and this guy, once you really get the ball rolling with him, he knows how to get to the quarterback. I think that's the same thing. The difference is I think Jalon Walker can actually play better off ball backer because his instincts are good. Like he reads, he identifies what's going on, run fitting and hitting run gaps, but also locating the ball in the run game as well. So my pin pull concepts and that his guard pulls. He knows I can either shoot this gap or I can stay square and trace the ball and chase the ball on the opposite side of the formation. So I think Hassan Reddick is probably my comp for him, a high-end version of Hassan Reddick. And if he can hit, and I think he will, this is a guy that can absolutely be an 8 to 10 sack guy, as well as being a 40, 50 tackle guy if you wanted to play him in that hybrid type of role. And with the defensive line, interior defensive line, the Falcons, because I'm excited about thinking about Raheem like playing him at linebacker alongside Caden Ellis and mugging the A gaps, because you got James Pierce Jr. We'll talk about, like, we're going to kick it to me about that in a little bit, but you brought, Braylon Tracy be coming back, healthy this year. He'll be kind of that bigger body edge that you can literally walk up on the line of scrimmage and have 6 guys at the line of scrimmage and really get into the mind and in the head of a Baker Mayfield, of a Bryce Young, of a young rookie Tyler Shuck. And I can tell Falcons fans now, I like Tyler Shuck, but boy, does he not like pressure. You know what I mean? He does not like to be pressured at all. You start to see a lot of those 90s cartoons, Bugs Bunny type of mistakes, and you're like, Tyler, that is not the right color jersey, brother. You can't throw that ball there. So I think that's what I'm excited for, to see the different ways Raheem Morris is going to utilize Jalon Walker.
Yeah, so let's get into that conversation about James Pierce. Get your thoughts on the Falcons trading up for James Pierce, as well as his fit in the wide 9 defense that Jeff Ulbrich may be bringing to Atlanta from the New York Jets. So there's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game, whether it's every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge, and it's electric inside that arena. And with Gametime, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Gametime is going to make it easier to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down the closer you get the tip off, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. That's right, 60% savings with Gametime. And you couple that with their all-in prices, where you see the costs up front, no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you get. And of course, what you see is what you get with those panoramic seat views that you can preview your seats before you buy. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime by downloading the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So continuing here with DP of the Locked On NFL Draft podcast, and let's talk about the other pick that the Falcons made in round 1. And when you saw the Falcons trading up, what was sort of going through your mind at that moment in the draft?
I thought they were coming up for like Malachi Starks, because Starks was still on the board. So I thought they were trying to snipe the Ravens for Starks and add Starks to Jesse Bates, which I was kind of in the right ballpark, because they ended up going safety later. So I know like that was actually a need for them. And I was like, man, if they walk out of here with Jalon Walker and Malachi Starks, like that's a first round for you. And then when I saw James Pierce Jr. come off the board, I smiled. I was like, okay, he's like Terry Fontenot understood, and I think he heard some of the criticism, like, hey, at the end of the day, what happened week 17, like Bryce Young being able to have the game he has because you couldn't get to him. And it's like when you can't pressure him and he's comfortable, and then he gets to front run and do the whole, no quote unquote low look pass and everything like that. It's like, yeah, you got to get to these quarterbacks, man. And Baker Mayfield, we know he's a gunslinger and he's got weapons in Tampa Bay and everything. So you got to get to the quarterback. And I love seeing him be aggressive, go get James Pierce Jr. And I think James Pierce complements with Jalon Walker and the rest of this defensive line very well. This is a guy that a lot of people don't realize. He had 30, 40 pressures. Like his pressures went up this year. Sacks went down a little bit, but I think he got a lot more attention in 2024 on that Tennessee defensive line. But he's a versatile guy as well in terms of how you use him as a rusher. Like you can wide nine him. You can do twists and stunts, ETTE stunts. He's known to be a very good looper, and with his athleticism that we saw at the combine, that closing burst is serious. Like you turn on the tape against Georgia, he dominated those tackles on both sides of the formation. And if it wasn't for the fact that Carson Beck has a little bit of nimbleness to him, he could have had 2.5 sacks in that game. He drew, I believe, 2 offensive holding penalties in that game as well when I was watching the tape, because he beat those guys that much. And I loved watching that evolution of his ability, of his pass rush. In 2023, he was a lot of speed outside, the outside shoulder, winning the outside shade. And then in 2024, teams were prepared for that to start the season. then you start seeing him use that speed to sell outside and then Euro step back inside, cross face, and then that's a clear path to the cornerback. So I think I think this is a guy that's not finished developing. And so I really like what he brings to this defense. And we talk about the wide 9 situation, man. I think, yeah, him and Carter, you widen them out. And I love wide 9 from the aspect of, most fans don't realize, like, the guards are used as a bumper. It's like bumper cars. Like they're used to protect the inside shade of the tackles. Like if they got a chance to come over and get that elbow to the ribs of an edge rusher, they'll do it. But if you use wide 9 and you pull those tackles on the island, now it's them against the edge rusher. Now you have two lanes, and essentially you put the tackles in this position like a slot corner, like a nickel corner. You got to defend the two-way go here. And when you got athletic, fluid moving rushers like a James Pearce Jr. and Jalon Walker, yeah, now we're in a situation where tackles are, you think, and I think I said that when we were doing the recap on the show, I was like, yeah, Ike Ekwonu, who's like gotten better for Carolina, this could be a problem for him. Like with Jeff Albrecht being there, that wide 9, the wide 9 formation, but also the 2 different explosive edge rushers, and the fact that neither one of these guys stopped after the first move, that could be a very bad thing for Icky, because he stops his feet, he'll get complacent at the top of rushes, and with guys like Jalon Walker and James Pearce Jr., you can't, because if you do stop your feet, they're just going to dislodge your hands and get free and then get to the quarterback. So I think both of them are great fits. Like I said, I was a little shocked when they came back up. I thought it was Malachi Starks, and when I saw James Pearce Jr., I was like, okay, Terry Fontenot's taking 2 swings at it, and he's like, listen, if I hit one, great. If I hit both, even better.
Yeah. Now, I think the expectation right now is that James Pearce will probably start off a little bit being more of that DPR, designated pass rusher. But I'm curious, what do you sort of see in James Pearce Jr.'s every down potential? Is the run defense a concern to you, or do you feel like that's something that won't be an issue for him transitioning to the next level?
I think it's a little bit of a concern, because he's a little bit leaner. I think he's like 6'5", 240, 245. He didn't have the greatest arm. Like he's not like 33s, 34s, like a Donovan Azaroku or anything. At 32 and I think 3/4. So it's good on the arm length. I think more so now is just kind of maybe without sacrificing too much athleticism, can you get him to 250, 252, maybe even 255, and especially in the lower body, like strengthening his legs to be able to anchor against the run and set the edge. I think he fires his hands well and everything. I think his upper body strength is fine. Because there's a rep, I can't remember which game it was I was watching. There's a rep where he's up against the center and like in a one-on-one pass rush, and he just bull rushes the guy right into the quarterback. So I'm like, yeah, the upper body strength is there. Now it's like, okay, can we get our cleats in the ground against NFL tackles and be able to anchor? Like you talk about playing the Colts, they're going to run the ball, whether it's with Anthony Richardson or Jonathan Taylor, they're going to run the ball. That's a physical offensive line. You're going to have to deal with that. The Buffalo Bills, same thing. If you're on that side with Spencer Brown and Osiris Torrance, those are 2 big physical burly dudes that if he's in the game on some downs they want to run and Josh checks to it, they're going to probably run right at him and test him. Because the way that you take, I compare basketball to football a lot. The way you take away a shooter's legs, a jump shooter, is you make them play defense. Like you tire them out. And the same way with a pass rusher, you want them to take away a speed, explosive rusher's ability to be explosive. You run the ball at them and you drain their legs. So I think that's going to be a big thing for him. I think starting him as a DPR makes a lot of sense. Because when you have 4.4 athleticism and bursts and explosiveness and everything else, and you can bring that off the bench clean and fresh, offensive linemen hate that stuff. They hate to see guys like that come off the bench. They've been battling for 3.5 quarters. This dude's playing 25 snaps, and they're like, he's fast. I got to worry about the speed rush, and he's not tired. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay. So it's like having a guy like that, that's just, to me, it's the embarrassment of riches, because then you really can use him in that role just until you work on the physicality, and just getting accustomed to it, getting accustomed to the physicality. And it may take an off season. Like after his rookie year, we look at him in training camp in 2026 and he's bulked up, because it's like, people, most fans don't know this. Like NFL players look at it like, okay, where did I struggle last year? Like, oh, this is a grown man's league. I need to get a little bit bigger. Fine, I'm gonna hit the weights. I'm gonna add a couple more pounds and fill out my frame. I think that's more so run defense wise where I want to see from him. He's just filling out his lower body a little bit more, because I think my confidant was Brian Burns, and that was Brian Burns' biggest concern coming out as well, was the kind of thin, wiry frame that he had.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that Brian Burns comp, but you read my mind, DP. So let's talk about the safety that the Falcons, I guess you could say, chose over Malachi Starks, if you want to say that, as well as the rest of the Falcons draft picks, to wrap up today's Locked On Falcons. Now, did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into a gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. Do you find yourself tired of constantly changing apps? Well, with Fire TV Stick 4K, everything's in one place, from Netflix to YouTube and beyond. So whether you're the hardcore casual gamer or have no interest in video games, Fire TV has got you covered. So head on over to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. So obviously not a deep draft class for the Atlanta Falcons, coming away with 5 players. We've talked about the top 2 and Jalon Walker and James Pierce so far. 3 more to get to. Xavier Watts, the safety from Notre Dame. Billy Bowman Jr., the safety from Oklahoma that is expected to probably be more of a big nickel here in Atlanta. And of course, the incomparable Jack Nelson, the offensive tackle from Wisconsin. What were your thoughts on the 3 remaining picks for the Falcons?
I love what they did. I feel like defense was a big emphasis for the Falcons, and I figured they would go Malachi Starks when they traded back up, and they said, no, we're gonna get another edge, and then double down and get 2 safeties. Xavier Watts, we did superlatives during the draft season with our big boards over at Bleacher Report, and one of the superlatives I had to step in to help with safeties was best zone safety, and I felt like that was Xavier Watts. His ability to play trap coverage, to be the robber, to, hey, we're in too high, I'm going to rotate down and take this crossing route from you. It's outstanding. Great instincts, great zone eyes to be able to read route concepts, pass things off. He's a leader, willing tackler as well. You go back to the national championship game, Ohio State won that game, but they targeted him one-on-one too against Travion Henderson on the wheel route. It was null and void. Like, he broke that play up. He was right there in the hip pocket, very sticky coverage. And I think when you think about having Jesse Bates as that free safety, the leader of that secondary and that safety room, and being able to bring a guy like Xavier Watson to play that second to that first and second level of passing concepts, I absolutely love that. Billy Bowman, another guy, like they understood, like, we need to get some ball hawks, because Billy Bowman is another guy, playmaker at that nickel kind of safety spot. He's where the ball is. He's a nose for the football. If you throw it in his direction and it's not accurate or not on target, he will take it away from you. And just adding 2 guys like him and Xavier Watts and that playmaking ability, especially like, again, Baker Mayfield, gunslinger. There's not a throw he doesn't like. So when you have guys in the secondary, and definitely, having AJ Terrell, you think about going to some 3 safety sets where Billy Bowman's in the nickel, in the slot, and you show man and rotate off into cover, into zone, confuse the quarterback. They think, oh, I got this slant wide open, and instead Xavier Watts is triggering downhill and taking that away from you. I think I got this over route, and because they're in too high and it's man-to-man. No, actually, it's cover 1, and he's rotating down, and he's going to take that crosser and force you into a more rush throw, because now the pass rush is getting home. Terry Fontenot did an outstanding job being able to get guys and then match the pass rush with the secondary. I always say this, like, I think Bill Belichick's one of the only few coaches that was coaching in the league at the time that would go secondary over pass rush. And for me, it's pass rush first. So getting the pass rush in round one and then adding more secondary pieces and ball hawks and playmakers. Showing that USC game, Xavier Watts had like a 101-yard interception return for a touchdown. Be able to make plays in the red zone and understand it's condensed, squeeze space. Love that, that fit. I think Jack Nelson gives them a big offensive lineman that I believe he could also play guard. So I think, and that's a position that, you look at, it's like, all right, he's about 6'6", I think 6'7", or somewhere in there, big dude. He's 6'7", 314, 33.5-inch arms. And so I wasn't surprised to see him go a little bit later, but I think lateral movement in a box in a phone booth will be better for him than kind of putting him outside. If they get one of the offensive line coach that can, I look at what Joe Alt, and my thing with Joe Alt was never a kick slide guy. If you watch Joe Alt with the Chargers, he's more of a lateral wide base type of pass protector. That's why flipping from the left to the right didn't bother him, because he doesn't kick step. He doesn't kick slide and things like you see most tackles do. He stays lateral. He stays square. He understands I'm 6'7", 6'8". You got a lot of body to work around. Same thing for Jack Nelson. If he can do that and be patient inside of his pass reps and pass sets, he can work out a plan to be a tackle. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does get kicked down into guard and be a bigger guard. And we're kind of starting to see an influx of that now, where teams aren't afraid to put these 6'7", 6'8" guys. We see Daniel Falele with the Ravens, Mekhi Becton, who was with the Jets, goes to the Eagles last year, and he's playing right guard. We're starting to see more teams be comfortable with 6'7", these big, tall guys, and say, you know what, you might not have the exact movement patterns and skills to play tackle, but I can definitely kick you in that guard, protect you in that regard. But also you got the wingspan that, again, be a bumper and be a helper to our tackles. But I think, again, the Falcons, to me, I'm pretty sure I gave them an A, maybe A-. I love their draft. I know, don't get me wrong, some people are probably not happy giving up that first round pick. They go get James Pierce. And one thing I would say is understanding that, to me, that's a vote of confidence in what they believe in Michael Penix Jr. Like, teams that when teams have a quarterback, they don't mind being aggressive with their first round picks. But if you need a quarterback, you're like, yeah, I'm probably not trading that. I want to make sure I'm set. So understand that, you know what, we got our number one wide receiver, we have our quarterback, we got our number one running back. Now our defense is kind of loaded with talent, young talent that we can develop and mature into NFL playmakers. I love what the Falcons did. Terry Fontenot, I listen, like I said, I've been calling for him. I was like, listen, brother, if you walk out of this draft and don't get you at least one edge rusher, I'm gonna be in Atlanta calling for your job, because this is ridiculous at this point. But he said, DP, I got you. He doubled down and took care of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing these young guys in this Raheem Morris defense, because I think there's a chance that the defense is going to be improved for sure. But I think you guys could be one of the better playmaking defenses in the back end, paired with the rush that you're going to see on the front end.
Absolutely. We'll leave it at that, DP. Appreciate you for coming on, sharing your insights and praise for the Atlanta Falcons draft. Let the people know what some of the stuff you're working on over at Locked On NFL Draft and elsewhere.
Yeah, we're finishing up our our draft recap. We went through and graded all the teams, every division, every single team in the NFL, gave them grades this week, and everything finishing up with I think NFC East on tomorrow. Also talking about the quarterback landing spots, things of that nature. We'll have post-draft rookie rankings for prospects. Like, we did a lot of pre-draft, top 10s. So now we know where these guys landed. All right, now let's see where they land in our top 10s now. Where kind of the Shadors and the Quinn Ewers, guys that we had a little bit higher in our top 10, they go day 3. Will Howard, same thing. So we have that stuff coming up as well. And of course, over at Bleacher Report, any of the scouting reports you can go check out. I'll be doing NFL writing for them during the off season as well, as we get ready for rookie camps and everything. And then of course, my YouTube channel, The Scouting Room. Getting ready to, I got some stuff cooking, got some more film breakdowns and everything like that for some of the college players, for fans who want to see that. And then I'll be transitioning into NFL breakdowns, looking at guys from the rookie class last year and the year before, watching the development, how guys were successful. Can they repeat it going into 2025?
So, guys, that's going to do it for us here. Thanks to Damian Parson of Locked On NFL Draft and other entities for sharing his insights into the Atlanta Falcons draft. We will have more guests in the coming days, including tomorrow with Jarvis Davis of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we'll be talking probably a lot more about, the latest on the Jax Ulbrich, Shedeur Sanders fine saga, some of the things that Kyle Smith, the Falcons essential assistant GM, Ryan Pace is hell here lurking, what he had to say about the Falcons draft class, as well as other topics of discussion on tomorrow's episode. So continue to make Locked On Falcons your first listen. Make sure you follow or subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And of course, for your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Draft, as well as checking out the Locked On NFL Scouting podcast with the draft dudes, Joe Marino, Kyle Krabs. We're going to get you covered for not only the drafts, but all their roster moves that teams are geared up to make all summer long. Find it, as well as all the great shows here on the Locked On Podcast Network on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It is all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.